We can do the pledge without allegiance.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. It's 9 o'clock. Commissioner Marianne Borgeson will not be with us this morning. There is a copy of the Open Meetings Act located on the north wall of the LC chambers. Let's please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone, and welcome to our meeting today. We will now move to the agenda for the Douglas County Board of Equalization. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Borgeson, Commissioner Boyle, Commissioner Garrett.
Here. Kraft, Commissioner Morgan, Commissioner Rogers, Madam Chair.
Here. Thank you. Okay, first of all, we have approval of the minutes of the Board of Equalization meeting held Tuesday, August 5th, 2014. And then we have a call for a meeting and set Tuesday, August 19th as the date for hearing on certified assessment corrections reflecting the addition of omitted property to the tax rolls or increased value on property.
Move approval of items A and B.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Please vote.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Is there anyone here in the chambers that wishes to speak on the Board of Equalization? I see none. Next, we have resolutions. Item D, approving corrections for errors in assessment in personal property and application for tax exemption on motor vehicles recommended for approval by County Treasurer. Commissioner Boyle.
Yes, I sent a couple of emails out, and I'll get some answers back, but I think I sent them to everyone. That I had a couple of questions about, first of all, the corrections that were made on the personal property, item D. It's kind of interesting that personal property is, I guess, declared by the owner, so we don't have the assessor going out to look at personal property. And we had quite a few corrections made, and I'm just curious about, in the future, I think we ought to be discussing some sort of a mechanism. It'd be very expensive, I suppose. But we have businesses that are getting their personal property tax bills reduced, frankly, on their own word, and we don't trust anybody else. So why are we trusting them? I think it's something we probably ought to discuss, that maybe something should be changed.
Mike Goodwillie, Douglas County Assessor's Office. Commissioner, as you know, personal property is self-reported. Those businesses have a window in case they discover an error in their reporting. But generally, when they do file an amended return, we ask for backup, typically like their federal depreciation schedule or something they filed with their federal return. So it isn't completely trust us. Now, I suppose if they're lying to the feds, they might be lying to us. But we do ask for backup when we get these amended returns.
But do you get it all the time, the backup?
Pretty high percentage of the time. I couldn't quantify it, but usually when people file an amended return, they understand they should attach something to it to be able to say why we are amending the return up or down.
Okay. Well, I don't want to go into it so much. I appreciate your coming to the podium to explain that, but I think what we need to do is have it on a committee and kind of talk about it, see whether there's anything we ought to be doing, maybe nothing. Thank you.
Patrick, can you make a note of that to go ahead and add that to one of our future committee meetings? Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Kraft.
Mike, would you come back? This goes back years ago. I had missed the deadline or failed to file, and I had an assessment against me on personal property. You automatically set a minimum amount.
There are, Mike Goodwillie, Douglas County Assessor's Office. There are instances where people fail to file, and we prepare what's called a penalty assessment, and we'll send that out to the taxpayer. What that often does then will spur the taxpayer to actually file their real return. I mean, we're making an estimate, often based on the kind of business it is, and they'll get that in the mail, and they'll go, holy smokes, we forgot to file our return, and then they file.
Then we would see it later in the
Sure.
corrections and assessments.
Absolutely.
As I recall, because this is quite a while ago, somebody actually came down and walked through to see that I had no undepreciated equipment, because everything I had was over 20 years old. And
It's hard to believe.
you'd think it would be over 30 years old, don't you? Yeah.
Well, certainly when we see something like that is unusual, we may ask some follow-up questions from the taxpayer as well.
Yeah. But, yeah, so a lot of these are just because somebody had that penalty assessment.
Yeah, that would be a fair characterization.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Do I have a motion?
Second.
Please vote.
Does that include adjournment?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. We will now move to the agenda to the Board of Corrections. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Borgeson, Commissioner Boyle, Commissioner Duda, Commissioner Kraft, Commissioner Morgan, Commissioner Rogers, Madam Chair.
Here, thank you. First, there's approval of the minutes of the Board of Corrections meeting held Tuesday, July 22nd, 2014.
Motion to approve. Second.
Please vote.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the chambers who wishes to speak to the Board of Corrections? I see none. Next, we will have a report from our Director of Corrections, Dr. Mark Foxall. Now, just an FYI, just because I'm running the meeting today doesn't mean I'm not going to have any questions. I was already told I can, but I only have 3, so you're good.
Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Mark Foxall, Director of Corrections. You have before you my monthly report, closure number 1. You're 1 month into the new fiscal year, and we're reporting under budget thus far. City of Omaha's billed through June of 2014. They've paid 90% of their invoices through May of 2014, audited invoices through February, and paid audited invoice balances through April. The balance is $317,384.67. Enclosure number 2 is community corrections in-house programs. A little bit on the 24/7 program. We have 20 participants on the program. 6 new participants were added, so that program is beginning to ramp up a little bit. Work release had 67 intakes for the month previous. Work release clients donated 1,736 hours of community service in and around various public and private charitable organizations. House arrest admitted 76 individuals for the month, and 300 hours of community service were provided by those individuals. The Ranger Assistance Program is housed at the Criminal Justice Center. 26 placements for the month of July. Community programs, that's in-house programs in the main facility, where 83 individuals are admitted to corrections programs in the main facility. And with respect to pretrial services, 21 individuals were referred for priority prosecution, 266 bed days were saved, 178 individuals were placed on pretrial release, and 741 individuals were managed with a 97% compliance rate. Just a little bit on compliance in the Prison Rape Elimination Act, PREA, which you've heard me refer to several times. Robert DeMond completed the mandatory PREA training for staff between the 21st and 25th of July, so that is complete, and we continue to move forward with that federal mandate. Personnel-wise, happy to announce that the correctional officer recruit class will graduate this Friday at 1:00 p.m. Everyone is invited, and it will be 16 new individuals that will report for field training officer duty on Sunday, the following Sunday. Enclosure number 6, population. We have a total of 1,517 admissions for the month, previous month reported. There were 1,534 releases, or ADP, or the average daily population was 1,144. The United States Marshal population reflected no change. ICE population decreased. The felony pretrial population increased. The misdemeanor pretrial population was down. The female population was down. However, the third female housing unit remains open. And I would say that since these reported numbers, our population continues to decline, slipped under 1,100. It's up a little bit this morning, but the population is starting to drop a little bit. Enclosures, medical intake screenings are 1,299. Health and physicals, 553. Discharge referrals, 586. Mental health, intake psych assessments, 35. Initial mental health assessments, there were 171. Mental health infirmary placements, there were 47. Referrals to community-based mental health services, outpatient psych, 1. Mental health and co-occurring disorder treatment programs, 51. Mental health therapy, there were none. And long-term psych, none. That concludes my report for July 2014.
Thank you, Mark. Like I said, I told instead of 33 questions, I only have 3 for you today. That's great. First of all, congratulations to the new class that'll be graduating on Friday. That's nice to see that. So congratulations and welcome to all the correctional officers. It's also nice to see that you're finally getting close with your staffing. You're authorized at 394. You have 392 on hand. I understand that you still may lose a couple through attrition, and maybe some of these new ones won't stick around. But still, that's the best that's been in a long, long time. So I'm really pleased to hear that. I'm still a little bit concerned about the overtime. It's not real major, but I'm still got a concern over it. But maybe with these new recruits that, that'll bring it back down to where I won't be asking you every single time you come up here. But thank you for that. Also, when you had, I like on enclosure 5 where you got on there that the staff also participated in cross-training in emissions, classification, sanitation, and other areas of the facility. I think that's very important, and I appreciate you cross-training on that. I think all departments need to do that, and I really appreciate you taking time and having everybody cross-train on that. I think that's real important.
Okay, we do it as often as we can, but with the counts up in summertime, sometimes it doesn't happen very frequently, so just a note to that, but we try to get to it when we can.
Yeah, well, very much appreciated. Also, I want just to take a personal note to say thank you to all the correctional officers and to you and all your staff for all the hard work you do. People do not realize how dangerous it is for the correctional officers and even the staff in your facility there, and they think, they see the police and they see the firemen and they have dangerous jobs, but they're outside, so people see them all the time. Nobody actually sees what goes on behind closed doors of your facility, and I just want to say thank you to every single one of them, because I know that sometimes their lives are also on the line. So I just want to say thanks, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It can be very difficult and very, very dangerous. Very dangerous job, and it's just, you're right, a lot of what we do is behind those walls, and you don't see it like out in the street. Mm-hmm. So it is a very complicated and very dangerous job at times. So thank you.
So please tell everyone I said thank you.
I certainly will.
Commissioner Kraft.
On the health side, on the physical assessments and on the psychology or psychiatric assessments, when you have frequent flyers, do you do an assessment each and every time they come in?
Well, it depends on how long they stay. Everybody that comes in has to undergo an initial medical screen within 3 hours of their arrival in the facility. Okay. And that's mandatory. And the psych assessment is every single time they come in, or? We do a psych screen every time they come in as well. Every time. Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Now, the extent to which those screens are done depends on how long they're staying, and also if there's any emergent issues as well. But everyone goes an initial medical screen when they come in, and they ask different questions with regard to mental health upon intake as well. Okay.
Thank you. Commissioner Rogers.
Mark, can you explain you or Denise the psychiatrist shortage that has been talked about, and I guess what's that effect on us? Or there was a shortage that was discussed through us through the email, and I haven't, that Denise,
Oh, Denise.
is it a psychiatry shortage, or am I right in that?
Oh, I'll let Denise address that.
There's some capacity issue that's having people turned away.
Good morning, Denise
Morning.
Gaines, Douglas County Corrections. I think the email that we talked about was making appointments to different agencies in the community. There were a couple of agencies that we were having some difficulties with.
Yeah, but my understanding email was because of a shortage of capacity and
At one of the facilities, that's what we were being told as to why they stopped taking appointments, is because they were at capacity.
Okay.
And we did make a call to one of the management staff and have not received an email nor a call back yet.
And how does that play out for us, I guess, basically?
We just continue to try to find places for them, other agencies that we can set an appointment with for them. So at this point, we haven't. It's just been difficult because we've had to kind of search around for different agencies to make sure that these folks are covered when they leave.
So the end result is they basically have to sit longer with us because they can't get out to a placement?
No, not necessarily. No, we just have to hustle to try to make sure we find some place for them to go. It just makes it a little bit more difficult because we're having to look for alternative appointments in other agencies. And sometimes that can be difficult.
So are these people that are in community corrections, or are they in the other side where they're going to serve their time and leave, and if they
They're in
don't
the
find a
secured
placement
side.
for them? So I guess we're trying to find a placement as quick as possible, because at some point you don't have control over them to help them find a placement. They're pretty much on their own. Is that safe to say?
Correct. Now, when you say placement, we're talking about outpatient appointments. Is that-
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I figure if they're on the secure side, because they're on the secure side, you're taking the lead in trying to help them find the placement.
Correct.
But it feels like it's a ticking clock that if you don't help them find a placement before they're out of control, it's pretty much on them then, if they don't have a
Exactly.
medical home, and that could create a frequent flyer.
Exactly, because we don't have them. We can keep them on meds while they're there, give them a supply of medication when they leave. And the goal is to try to get an appointment set so that they're not without their medication. And we try to coincide the date of their release with when they run out of medication. So we try to make sure that happens. But again, when we have to call around to different places, if one facility is not taking, of course, that means that the whole community is looking for other places for people to get appointments as well. So that just puts us out longer. And that does, I think, contribute to some of the recidivism, because people are without their medication for a period of time. They end up using drugs or just without their meds, and they become psychotic or just start to decompensate. So that may, and again, I haven't done a study on it, but I presume that does lead to some of the recidivism that we see with some of our more frequent flyers.
So how far are we away from the conference, the mental health thing we were working on?
There was a meeting last week. Joe Kinney from Regional was going to give me the notes, and I haven't seen that yet. But a lot of the discussion has been stakeholders to be present, that neutral convener to lead us through the discussion, and the keynote. So we had a meeting last week. So I don't have a date for you, but I'll talk to Joe when I get those notes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Kraft?
Before you leave today, Sharon in our office has a stack, probably 5 inches thick, of recent publications, Newsweek, Time, Forbes, Inc., for the prisoners, and using this opportunity to make a plea to anybody. Magazines don't last long. They get torn up, they get crumpled. You can always use more. So
Yes.
I just thought I'd put that word out, and maybe you'll get a few more.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Boyle?
Yes, I've spoken with Dr. Foxall, and we're going to have a meeting, a relatively long one to discuss in detail like we had several years ago at the facility. It'll be a public meeting. And one of the key items is just what Denise is working on. And we'll be talking about, what an ideal situation is, what do we really need, what do they need, so that we can try to focus on some goals, whether or not we can reach them or not. But this is an ongoing problem with so many facets of our agencies and departments that this is going to be a focus of that meeting. And we're going to be talking in detail about a lot of the programs, how successful they are, what's going on, what we need to do to support the department better and to make it even more efficient. So I just wanted to mention that we'll have a chance for a long discussion and get into detail about what's going wrong.
Okay.
Not
Thank
with you, but with the places that
Thank you.
we try to send people who have problems. We wouldn't let somebody sit in a facility someplace with a broken leg without being treated, and we shouldn't do that to people who are suffering from mental illness.
Commissioner Boyle, do you have a date when this meeting is set for yet?
I think it was around, was it the 17th of September?
I believe it was the 17th.
I think we're looking at the 17th of September. Karen has a date picked.
Okay.
And she'll be getting that out very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? That's it for today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good one.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Second.
Please vote.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Okay. Next, we will move to the agenda for the Douglas County Board of Commissioners. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Borgeson, Commissioner Boyle,
Here.
Commissioner Duda, Commissioner Kraft, Commissioner Morgan, Commissioner Rogers. Madam Chair.
Yes, thank you. First, we have minutes and claims. First one is approval of minutes of the Board of Commissioners meeting held Tuesday, August 5th, 2014. The next one is approval of claims submitted for payment process through Tuesday, August 12th, 2014. A complete listing is on file in the office of the Clerk Comptroller's Office and available at the Douglas County Clerk Comptroller's webpage. Any questions or comments?
So moved for approval.
Second.
Please vote.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next, we have the consent agenda. It's A through J, less I has already been removed, so that's a total of 9. Any questions or comments, please?
Motion to approve.
Please vote.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next, we have a recognition from Mr. Lee Lejeune. The recognition is a recognition of county employee Eugene Minders, retiring from Douglas County Garage after 26 years. Welcome, Lee.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioners, Lee Lejeune, Director of Human Resources, Douglas County Civil Service Commission. It is my pleasure today to recommend a resolution to approve recognizing Mr. Eugene Minders from the Douglas County Garage after 26 years of service. The resolution will reads as follows. Whereas Douglas County recognizes that its employees are the county's most important asset and resource for providing quality service to the citizens of Douglas County. Whereas the county wishes to recognize Mr. Eugene Minders of Douglas County Garage on his retirement and his dedicated service of 26 years to Douglas County, Nebraska. Now therefore be it resolved by this Board of County Commissioners, Douglas County, Nebraska, that the county recognizes Mr. Eugene Minders for his dedicated service to the citizens of Douglas County and thankfully presents this resolution as testimony thereof, dated this 12th day of August 2014. Mr. Minders requested that the recognition certificate be mailed to him. So at this point I would request resolution to approve.
So moved for approval.
Second.
Please vote.
And I'll make a note while this is going on. It's a long way to 156th Street. It's just as long here as it is to there.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
And Mr. Minders, thank you for your service to Douglas County, and we wish you the best of luck in your retirement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have citizens' comments. Is there anyone in the chambers that wishes to speak to the Board of Commissioners that is not on the agenda? Mr. Kimber, I believe you wanted to speak to the Board today?
Yes, ma'am.
Morning.
Morning. I have had a
Oh,
registered...
please state your name, please.
Robert Milton Kimber II.
Thank you.
I've had a registered service dog for the past about 4 months now. My psychiatrist over at Douglas County, Dan Bruni, initially got this started for me. And the issue that I'm bringing to the board this morning is I have approached Sherry over at she's the clinical director, and I explained to her that according to the Americans with Disabilities Act, my service animal is allowed to be with me if I go inpatient at Douglas County. For the past week and a half, I have tried unsuccessfully to get a copy of the draft that her and the county attorney has came up with to implement the policy that my service animal can be with me. She has told me that the other area hospitals which I have contacted that has a policy, but Douglas County does not. This morning I asked for a copy of the rough draft, and she said I am not allowed to have that. I have to have that for my personal, stuff that I have. I contacted Senator Chambers yesterday, and Senator Chambers asked me to get paperwork sent to him by my psychiatrist, and I tried to get that done, and Sherry kept giving me a bunch of grief of these HIPAA laws, and I said, Sherry, this came directly from the senator, and I am trying to follow what Senator Chambers asked. And I'm asking the board for a copy of the rough draft so I know exactly what would be my responsibilities if I do have to go inpatient with my service animal.
Mr. Kinder, I am going to give the floor to Commissioner Dudas to go ahead and explain your request.
As chairman of the board of the Health Center trustees, this kind of sort of falls to me. Let me start off by saying we your dog is just fine. We are sympathetic to what you are trying to accomplish, and we are supportive of what you are trying to accomplish. You have prompted us to come up with a policy. We really didn't have one, and you are absolutely right. We need one. It is appropriate for you to bring your animal with you, and I'm glad your dog is with you today, and you are welcome to bring it down to the health center when you are there. We are scurrying to develop a policy. We don't have one. You brought this to our attention that we don't have one and we need one. And so we are trying to develop one as quickly as we can. It is not public yet. It will be public before we can vote on it. And I can tell you we're going to try to keep the wheels turning as fast as we can on this to make it happen as soon as possible. As soon as we have a draft for our consideration, which should be soon, I hope within a matter of weeks, a few weeks, that will be a public document, and we will share it with you and value your input, your response to it. In the meantime, you're welcome to give us any thoughts you have to help us in drafting this, but we don't have a draft ready for public perusal yet. We will keep you in the loop. We're going to try to accommodate as fast as we can. Your request is reasonable, and we want to work with you.
Okay, Patrick, why did yesterday when I explained to Sherry that Senator Chambers wanted this information, did she tell me that it would have to have been a direct request from the state senator when Senator Chambers over the phone instructed me as his constituent to get this information and have my psychiatrist or Sarah, which is Dan Bruni's case manager, send it to him?
Commissioners, would you like me to respond?
Go ahead,
When
Patrick.
you say Patrick's back there, is that who you're directing?
I'm talking to you.
Very good.
Commissioners, as I had told Mr. Kimber on the phone yesterday, and as Sherry has told him, that information can be provided to Senator Chambers, but we first need a written authorization from Robert allowing us to provide information to Senator Chambers or to anybody else, along with a written specifics as to what information we're going to be releasing. HIPAA laws require that. We want to provide that information, but we just simply need a written request specifying what Robert wants to be released and him authorizing us to release that information.
Okay, then why am I not being given the communication between the county attorney and Sherry then?
What communication are you referring to?
The communication that Sherry has talked with County Attorney Kristen Huber about the legal legalities of having my service animal inpatient?
Well, any communications between our employees and the county attorney would not be subject to public consumption.
So if I brought in my U.S. Senator Michael Johans, signed a release of information, and asked my U.S. Senator to get this information for me, would he be able to get it?
What information?
The communication between the county and Sherry.
Well, any request for information that's attorney-client privilege information would be reviewed, and we would comply with whatever laws that would be required to release that information. Maybe Teresa can speak to it.
So up until the time that this gets put in policy, what's going to happen if I have to go inpatient?
Commissioners, I explained to Robert that if he did go inpatient, we would allow him to use that dog, and while the policy was being reviewed and finalized, we would use the elements of that draft policy with the county attorney's advice. There are specific conditions that would have to be met. For example, whatever patient had a service dog in the facility would have to show their ability to care for that service dog while that dog was inpatient, clean up after the dog, make sure the dog's fed, cared for, all of those things. So as long as those things are complied with, there should not be any problem if a patient would come in today or tomorrow or next week.
Well, sir, I have, and I'm going to say this, I've been Dan's patient for almost a little over 2 years, and ever since I've had Omar, the Sarah knows that when I bring Omar in for my appointments, I take very well care of him. I make sure at home he is taken care of. And when this was brought up yesterday, I felt it was like you was telling me I was not taking care of my dog. I mean, when he's got to go out, I take him out. But what is going to happen if I have to take him out and if I'm inpatient? What's the protocol for that going to be?
That will be provided in the policy that is currently being reviewed by the county attorney's office.
Well, I was told by the county attorney yesterday that there would be something signed by Friday.
I don't believe that's accurate, but I can let Teresa speak to that.
Teresa, would you like to answer his question if you are able to?
Certainly. Teresa, York County Attorney's Office. Mr. Timber, we are currently reviewing that policy, and it is a draft policy. What Commissioner Duda told you is accurate. That policy is not ready to be released. It's still embryonic in its stages, meaning it's at the beginning part of that drafting process. But I would encourage you, if you wish to see the policy, to make a written public records request. You can certainly do that, as any citizen may, and when that policy is beyond the beginning stages, we would happily share that with you as appropriate.
So how much more longer is it going to take to get this policy on paper?
I can't give you an exact date. It is under review.
Okay, and then answer me this. Why is it when I talked to Lasting Hopes, one of their supervisors, and she talked to the administration, they looked up the Americans with Disabilities Act regarding this matter. I went back 2 days later, and they said they did not. They just said, we will accommodate you and everything. But when I brought this to Sherry's attention, she's bringing all these people involved into it when Lasting Hope didn't have to.
Well, sir, I believe several people have stated that we will accommodate the use of your dog while the policy is being drafted, and then the policy will address more specifically how you may bring your dog into the facility, and we will have the policy comply with the ADA. That's our goal, and that's why it's going to take us a little bit of time to finish drafting it and get it prepared.
Thank you. I apologize. I accidentally took Mark and Mike off the board to speak. Mike was next, so Commissioner Boyle.
I just wanted to say that you're right, and what you're seeing is government just kind of grinding along, trying to get it right. And this will turn into a policy that will be something you'll like. It will allow you to do what you want to do and to take care of all the needs that you have. So I want to assure you that what Commissioner Duda said is right on point, and what our legal counsel has said. We're working toward getting a policy written that accommodates you fully, and it will. But unfortunately, what you're really seeing today is government at work, that a lot of people are trying to get it right, making sure that your rights are protected, and it's taking some time. And so I hope that you'll be patient with us. We will get a product and a policy done that is what you want. And,
well, Commissioner Boyle, Sherry knew about this matter, and you know, it wasn't a direct dealing with this, but she knew back in March of this year when Dan Bruni authorized me to start looking for my service dog. And my question is why didn't she start on the policy back in March?
I would suspect because she just took over the department.
When did she take over the department?
I think about March. Yeah, I think Mr. Sheehan resigned about the end of February, and so she just took over, and she has her hands full trying to get things put together so there's services for those who need them. It's a real priority with this board that her department be adequately staffed. We just added another person that she's been trying to get for 3 years. So we're very serious about treating that part of county government. So I wouldn't blame Sherry. I think it's just a matter of her having so many things to do. Maybe it just didn't occur to her. I hate to say that. I can't answer for her. But I want you to know, as Commissioner Duda said, this is something we believe in. We're committed to it, and it's going to get done right, and it's going to be done so that it's something that you like. You will like it when it gets done. Please be patient with us. We're on your side. You have no opponents here. It's very infrequent that someone comes to the podium that you don't have any opponents.
Well, I will say one thing, and I mean this directly to the entire board. Douglas County Mental Health has no staff on duty as far as therapists that are trained to deal with people that are people with mental health issues that are sex offenders. I do know that for a fact. The only one that even remotely knows how to deal with people like myself is Dan Bruni.
Well, we need to, it's my feeling that, and I think quite a few members of the board, that we do need to refocus our priorities, and you have hit the nail on the head. The treatment of people who suffer mental illness is a real priority in this community, not only people who have been incarcerated, but people who are on the street, working jobs daily, who have problems that need to be addressed. We wouldn't do this to somebody who had a broken leg. We wouldn't let this linger. But I want to assure you that I know that Commissioner Duda and all the people who have spoken before me are committed to making this right, and we will. In a matter of weeks, you'll have a policy that will be something that you'll want, and we'll ask you what you think about it too before it's all through. We'd ask you to come back and tell us how we can improve it. So, and I do appreciate your comments about treating sex offenders, because that is another area where we need to get some people involved, more people involved. We have a shortage of psychiatrists in our community. We have a lot who come and go, who leave because of various reasons. And so it's difficult to keep our department staffed. There's a lot of competition for their services. So I hope you'll bear with us while we try to make things better. We're committed to serving you.
Well, I just wanted on the record that I did bring this to the the commission's attention. And, you know, it seems like, you know, nobody even knows about the ADA laws at Douglas County. And I'm the first one that, you know, had to deal with this. But what I don't understand is Douglas County Mental Health knew that I was getting this, and there was no contingency plans or nothing. But when I went to Lasting Hope to ask them about this, you know, they looked it up. They said, yes, Mr. Kimber, we will accommodate you.
Well, we will accommodate you too.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kraft?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Kimber?
Mr. Kimber?
Mr. Kimber?
We still have...
We're still chatting.
We're not quite through yet.
He was getting a little antsy. That's why I'm not.
Omar's had about enough of us, huh?
Omar's a beautiful dog.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Oh, I was sitting here watching him watch you on the TV monitor. It's really interesting. I don't know if you saw him. I don't think you looked down to see him.
No.
watching you. I think it confused him that you were up there. The draft is a work in progress. Once it is finished, and before it comes to the board, you will have a chance to review it. It'll be on our, do you have internet access?
No, I do not, sir.
Okay. We will make an attempt to get you a copy of it, or let you know. Well, you can always pick one up in our office also.
Right.
I realize that might be an inconvenience, but we'll do what we can. You will have immediate, at least near immediate access with your dog to our facilities. I want to thank you for bringing this to our attention, and I know there are numerous members of the public who appreciate your courage to come up here and to talk to us and make us aware of
Well, I know,
this and other
Commissioner,
deficiencies in the ADA laws.
Commissioner Kraft, there's a lot of businesses out there that when I bring my service dog out, they have an issue with it, and I say it's plain and simple. Either you follow the ADA laws, or you're going to be going to jail for violation of federal guidelines. And they're going like, well, you can't do nothing to me. And it's like, yes, I can.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's the arrogance of an employee who doesn't understand and hasn't been trained. And
I'm currently dealing with the NEOC on a business here in Omaha where they told me I cannot work there because I have my service dog.
Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Duda?
Thank you. First off, I believe you're a veteran?
I'm a veteran's son.
A veteran's son?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good, very good. I just, as Commissioner Boyle said, we're all on your side here. We appreciate your bringing this to our attention. There's a lot of questions, and while I recognize the importance of having a service dog with you, there still can be questions that have to be answered. My daughter works at the Hilton downtown, and they had somebody come in with a service dog last week that they insisted on taking into the swimming pool. And boy, did that have all the lawyers scratching their heads for a long time. And as it turns out, they can bring the dog into the pool area, but not into the pool.
Right.
I mean, there's, you know, so these are the things, the nuances that we need to be ready to address. And I am hoping that you will help us in drafting this policy. You know it better than we do. You know the implications better than we do.
Well,
I recently read the book Comet's Tale about Mr. Steve Wolf, who used to be with he and I actually went to college together up in South Dakota, and he used to be with the law firm of Hopman O'Brien here in town. And he is now disabled, and Comet was his Greyhound service dog, and it's a fascinating book. A fascinating dog, and believe me, I am supportive of what you are trying to accomplish here, and I appreciate your help in trying to come up with a good policy as we move forward together.
well, Commissioner Dula, it's not only at the mental health services, it's also at the sheriff's office that I have to go to out on 156.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. very
I've had
good.
issues with Andy Brookshire when I went out there last month to do my paperwork, and I just basically said, hey, he's my service dog, I'm sorry.
This is why we need your help in drafting the policy correctly, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Commissioner Boyle?
Well, this is kind of something that's a collateral comment that just deserves, I think, some comment. And that is that Senator Tom Harkin, who was our congressman across the river for so many years and became a U.S. Senator, he has a brother who suffers from deafness. And
I know who Senator Harkin is.
yeah, well, he is the writer. He is the author of the Americans with Disabilities Act, and he pushed it through the Senate, got it through the House, and he's retiring. And he is, interestingly enough, in his retirement, going to keep working for people who need the protection of the ADA. So I just want to make that comment that it was Senator Tom Harkin who really brought all this forward and made sure that people with disabilities have accommodations, which is so important to make to use your talents and to keep you included in our community. So I just wanted to mention that he really deserves credit for
Well,
what.
Douglas County don't even have anybody that would advocate for people like me.
Well, I guess I don't know that we ever would, because what we would do is on a case-by-case basis with through departments and make sure that we have a policy, as Commissioner Duda said, really county-wide, that makes sure that, you know, the accommodations are fulfilled. One of the things that may be helpful, and I'd suggest this, that maybe there's some kind of an ID card that could show that you know, the Douglas County has this is a a person who should be accommodated. I don't know if you have any kind of a card like that, but, or if they put one out, looks like you're getting
Something like this?
You got one? Yeah.
This is a metal copy of his ID.
Do you flash it?
Well, when people can't see his ID.
Yeah.
You know, and it's mostly on the bus because
Yeah.
when I first got him, the Metro Area Transit bus drivers gave me a bunch of grief.
Yeah.
And I had to go up in front of their board, and some of the bus drivers still demand to know why I've got a service dog, and I say under federal guidelines, I don't have to tell you nothing.
That's right.
And, you know, they want to just want to think, well, you're not blind. And I said, well, you know what? Not only blind people have them, people that's coming home from Iraq, Afghanistan. You know, there was an article about last month, it was, that the dogs that are being used as combat dogs now, that are being transitioned into service dogs for the veterans, and the service handler, their handlers get first crack at them. I think there should be a not only a county-wide policy, but I think it should go up to Lincoln and be a statewide policy about this matter.
I think you're absolutely on point, and you're really demonstrating something today about how government really should work. One person standing up and talking about something that needs to be fixed. So I appreciate what you did today, and I've listened carefully, and I know others have too. And so we will look into through our lobbyist about whether these things apply statewide and what we can do to make that right. So you're a trailblazer. Thanks a lot. You're fighting City Hall, and I think you're going to win.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Kimber, thank you to coming in front of the board today and telling us, you know, your concerns, something that, you know, we were aware of, but not completely until we heard, you know, your concerns about, you know, the situation you're going through. And thank you to Omar. He's been so very patient with you.
Oh, he's patient. He just don't like, he's mad at me right now for getting him up too early this morning.
Oh, we all deal with that. We all, again, thank you, and we will be working on this, and I'm sure Mr. Duda will be in contact with you.
Okay, thank you,
Thanks
ma'am.
a
Thank
lot.
you.
Have a great day.
Marcos, can you put on your legislative legislative list about possibly talking to the Kellys to see if there's anything with the state or of any laws to deal with this type of situation? Thank you.
Thanks. That's great.
Any other questions or comments? Sorry, any other questions or comments? All right, thank you. Next, we have a presentation from Mr. Kent Holm. It's a presentation on proposed Forest Glen subdivision. Morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kent Holm, Environmental Services Director. Last week there were some comments about the Forest Glen subdivision. You had previously given preliminary plat approval to that particular subdivision. My comments are going to be pretty brief today. I know Commissioner Boyle sent a memo or an email around to me yesterday, and hopefully I kind of summarized kind of where we're at in the process. The subdivision process in the county is divided up into a couple different stages. There's kind of a conceptual phase where we're meeting with the proposed developer. There's a preliminary plat phase which goes through a public hearing discussion at the Planning Commission, then comes to you, and then there is a final plat stage. In the process, there are various submittals that the applicant will make. We don't have all of those submittals yet. We have made it known to the applicant that they need to submit a few other things. We're waiting for those. As soon as we have those, one of those is really kind of the issue in question, and that is the overall stormwater management plan that talks about kind of the end product, how they're going to handle stormwater and so on, and be in a more specific manner. So we're waiting for that. As soon as we have that, then we'll proceed with the final plat, and there'll be 2 separate public hearings that will give anyone the opportunity to talk about that, provide input. One of those will be at the Planning Commission, obviously, and one will be in front of this board.
Commissioner Boyle?
Just a personal comment, how I am very supportive of the efforts that you take. You have a philosophy that reflects the county board about water management, wastewater management, and so forth. And it's at one time I was pushing for a merger between your department and the city, and I wasn't sure who was going to take over, and we even talked about Valley. But as time's gone on, I realize how important, first of all, having you there and the competence that you demonstrate in putting all these matters, complicated matters, together. So I appreciate your skills and your help. It's really, I feel very comfortable with you doing what you're doing. And I just want to say that because at times we've clashed once in a while, and I just want to make it sure that you know I support you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken, and we'll look forward to the public hearings.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Ken.
All right, next we have 3 public hearings today. The first one is by Curtis L. Christensen from QTech Rock. It's a public hearing and resolution providing public approval of issuance by Hospital Authority Number 2 of Douglas County, Nebraska, of approximately $24,500,000 aggregate principal amount of revenue refunding bonds for the benefits of Children's Hospital and Medical Center. Anybody here to speak on that?
My name's Greg Dietrich. I'm with QTech Rock here in Omaha.
Morning, Greg.
Morning.
Any questions or comments? No questions or comments from the public? I will close the public hearing with the will of the board.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Please vote.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next one we have, and this is going to be from Doug Cook from Environmental Services, a final plat request application for Kent and Peggy Merriweather and Edward and Darlene Anderson, a final plat request of Anderson Acres, a proposed residential subdivision consisting of lots 1 through 4 and Outlot A in the southeast quarter, northeast quarter, and the northeast quarter, southeast quarter, Section 19, Township 15, North Range, 10 east of the 6 p.m., the general location 102, 204, 626 South 264th Street in Waterloo. Did I hit all that right?
Would you repeat, great. Would you repeat that, please?
Oh, yeah. Not on your life. Morning.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning,
Doug Cook, your county planner. And the Planning Commission did meet on July the 9th. And this first item is a final plat. This has been before you before as a preliminary plat, and also the property has been rezoned. So we are south of, that's not a good map there, we are south of Dodge Street and west of 264th. This subdivision is of 4 lots. There are existing homes on 2 of them. Some of the highlights of the property is they are dedicating 50 feet of right-of-way of 264th Street to the county, as required by the county engineer. The lots are all over 3 acres in size. They're served by septic tank and private well. Let's just go to a picture of that. The couple things made this subdivision unique, and you might recall those. The first is the access to the lot in the back. Initially, we had proposed that there would be a shared driveway off of 264th Street. The applicants kind of late stages, they thought maybe there was a different option. We pursued that option with the county engineer's office. We have ended up where we initially started. There will be one shared driveway that will cut across the property. You can kind of see it as an easement, and it will run back to the lot in the back. So that issue, that situation has been resolved. The second one is the garage. There is a garage that, due to this plating, is too close to the side property line. And at a prior county commission meeting, it was suggested that we pursue a waiver, which we have.
Good.
And so staff is recommending that we do a waiver. What's unique about this and what makes sense for the waiver is we will have a 25-foot setback from the property line to the garage. So there's no public health, safety, or welfare issue here, and that is what makes sense for the waiver. So the staff recommendation on the final plat of Anderson Acres is to approve it with the granting of a waiver.
and you see the verbiage up there. The Planning Commission did recommend in favor of this on a 5-0 vote, and we will ask that you concur with that recommendation. And the applicants are here, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Kraft?
Yes. Last week we had a community service meeting, and a couple of our environmentalist friends asked us about low-impact development on new subdivisions and on what aspects are the applicants going to be taking to prevent runoff from going into any bodies of water that may be anywhere near it.
Okay.
Can you address that, or do we need to have?
I'll be glad to address it. There are no public improvements on this property, which is different than many other subdivisions. There are no internal roads here. There's no grading that will be done for road type things. Now, they have provided the required amount of green space, but the only things that will be built aside from homes will be the one shared driveway will be enlarged, and then there will be a second driveway for the other lot. So there are no necessary low-impact development type issues here. Now, that is very different from what you will see in a month or so for the Forest Glen subdivision, because they are proposing internal roads. They will be moving dirt. They will have to replace trees.
Okay. Are there bodies of water nearby?
This property?
Yes.
Yes, it's right on the lake.
Okay. Could I have the applicants come up?
Absolutely.
Just, are you planning, and you'll need to identify yourself and give an address.
My name is Robert Anderson. I'm the son of Ed and Darlene Anderson, and I reside in Lincoln, Nebraska. This is my sister, Peggy Merriweather.
My address is 626 South 264th Street.
Yeah. To prevent runoff of fertilizer, pesticides, et cetera, into the lake, are you planning any rain gardens or anything when there's a heavy downpour, to prevent some of the water from going into the lake or streams?
If you look at right now on the southern part of this, there's some ground that is in crop production at this point in time. And when their normal operating practice there is they don't get that fertilizer any close to that lake. We don't want that fertilizer in that lake there. So it's already in practice. There will not be any additional crops being planted around that.
Very good. Thank you.
Commissioner Boyle?
Well, this is really directed at the Planning Department. I want to thank them for listening to what we said about that garage. I thought that was really something you shouldn't have to put up with. And in the scheme of things, I think this is really a great solution. And sounds like a really good project you've put together. And so I'm sure it's going to go through with a unanimous vote. But thank you very much for bringing a great project to us.
If I can, on behalf of my parents and my sister and myself, we really did appreciate that on the garage there. That really helped us out there, so we thank you for that.
Well, we don't mean to have government making sense, but once in a while it does.
Well, we do appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Thank you.
I will close the public hearing. What is the will of the board?
Motion to approve.
With the recommendation?
Yes.
And I will second it with the recommendation.
Please vote.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Commissioner Boyle, did you have anything else?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Last one, we have adoption of the 2014 National Electrical Code, and we have Doug from Environmental Services speaking on that.
Okay, this is the 2011 NEC. It's a little thin. I read it all last night, if you have any questions. This one I haven't read yet. This is the 2014. Every few years, the state adopts a new electrical code, and that's what's happening in this case. And local government entities then are basically, in effect, required to go along with what the state did. So we had a public hearing in front of the Planning Commission to adopt the 2014 NEC. That motion was passed unanimously, and we will ask that you concur with that recommendation. And so staff recommendation reads to comply with state law and adopt the 2014 NEC.
Motion to...
Any questions or comments?
Can't we just come up with our own?
I'll get back to you on that, Commissioner.
If you've seen that look on his face, no. Commissioner Boyle.
I do have a question. Does anybody, I know we have to adopt it, I read it, and I know that it's mandatory, but I'm curious, do we know what kind of an impact this is going to have on developers or people trying to do work? Sometimes these codes bring in different requirements for what goes into a project, and that can get expensive. Do we have any idea, or we don't have a lot of choice, but do we have any idea if this is going to raise costs to developers?
I've talked to our electrical inspector about that, and to my knowledge, the way he's related to me is there's no major change.
Okay.
I'm not sure that...
The reason I smile is that I got in the biggest trouble with the plumbing board several years ago. It got to the point where someone walked into it with a 357 Magnum, seriously, and was really angry about what was taking place. So you may want to call the sheriff when you discuss this. So I'm just serious. I am concerned about it, but like I said, there's not much anything local government can do about it. It's mandated.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I will now close the public hearing. What is the will of the board?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Please vote.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
And thank you, everyone on the public hearings today.
Doing a great job. Thank you.
Next, we have committee meetings. Next, committee discussion action. Next is Finance, Commissioners Claire Duda and P.J. Morgan.
Claire, do you have?
Take it.
Take it.
We do have a meeting in room 903 right after our board meeting, and I'm not sure if we have an executive session or not.
Yes, we do.
Should take 20 to 30 minutes, and I think Joe has Baird Holm here to talk with us, Securities Commission. Correct, Joe? So that'll be what Joe has in mind for us.
Thank you. Did you want to take your number 2 item also?
Sure. What I've done, per our discussion a couple of weeks ago concerning the bond issue, the only thing I've added is that I want to be sure, and I've talked to Jerry Leahy a number of times, and he and I will continue to have some discussions concerning the bond issue and the way to move forward out at 156 for the 911 call center. But what this allows us to do is at least look at the renovation of the present facility there, the Fitzgerald home, but also allows us to look at new construction. It doesn't mean you're supporting new construction, and I don't even know that that'll be something we'd even consider, but at least it gives us on that bond issue the option per the bond attorney that was here telling us that we'd need that language, so we have the choice to either renovate or do new construction. And if we find out there's a real cost savings and a value and someone else is going to use the other space, then we can look at that option and discuss it and vote as you may. So that's where we are, and I don't even know that we'll get that far. It may just be totally a renovation as we go through the process. So with that, I would like to make a motion to approve that language as far as that resolution concerning the issuance of $25 million to have the voters vote on that in November.
Second.
Commissioner Boyle, you had a question?
I'd like to know if we can thanks, Sam, if we can make a visit to see exactly where we're going, what the footprint might be for, particularly for 911.
That's a great idea.
Jerry, would you come to the podium, please?
Good idea.
You know I had a call on you.
Good morning. Jerry
Good
Leahy,
morning.
Public Property. Yes, we can do that tour.
Maybe would Friday morning or sometime work for everyone?
Let's try it.
Jerry, let us know. Just email us and say, hey, we can do it at 9 o'clock on Friday morning or 10 o'clock or something, and we'll do a half-hour walk.
Did you want to tour the other parts of the facility or not?
Whatever you want.
Okay.
But
Thank you.
But it can't be an open meeting at this point. We don't have time to publish it.
I know, I mean, it'd be nice if all of us could go, and I don't really see a problem. I don't know if anybody wants to trudge through with this, but I don't see any problem if taxpayers wanted to come along, so I think we ought to all try go and make it a public meeting.
But we'd have to have time to advertise it to do that.
Yeah.
So would,
Or
trying to think
we
when we
can
could-
split it up, you know,
There
if
you
you'd
go.
like.
Yeah.
A couple of commissioners
Well-
this Friday, and
but maybe in the best interest, because we're going to ask the public to vote on this, make it an open meeting, and how much notice do we have to give?
How long do we need to advertise?
Patrick?
I think you'd need at least a couple of weeks to just to
really?
be safe, so, yeah.
Can't we put a ad in the Daily Record this afternoon? I mean, that's, what are we talking about? That's one,
I have to
3
talk
days.
to Karen about what the deadlines are. I think to be safe, you'd want to do it for, I would set it for 2 weeks from today, rather than next Tuesday, just to be safe, because otherwise I'd have to go back, talk to Karen. I can call her and see right now, if you want me to, see what the publication deadlines are.
why don't you? And then call the Daily Record, they'll get it in.
I'll call Karen.
The sooner,
Thanks.
the sooner the better.
Patrick, did you have another comment before you called Karen?
My only comment was that the motion, original motion on this was approved 2 weeks ago at July 29th County Board meeting. So the motion really should be that this resolution would replace the resolution that was approved by the board at the July 29th meeting, because otherwise you'd have two competing resolutions out there.
Why are we doing this then? I don't understand. Are we clarifying something?
We're just adding that language that we could do new construction if
I
we
see.
found out, that's all.
Okay, well then, yeah, we should do what Patrick suggested.
We'll do what Patrick suggested. Mr. Kavanaugh, is that okay?
Or the motion to
Replace or-
repeal the previous motion, or
Repeal and
previous
replace it.
adopted.
Okay,
May I
and so
speak
moved.
right now?
Just second, RJ, just second. Okay, Patrick, are you going to call Karen then? Call her now. Okay, and then Mark, did you want to speak before RJ or?
Yes.
Okay.
Second RJ.
That's fine. She can publish it today.
She can publish it
good.
today?
So we can meet on Friday?
It'll be published on Thursday, and then it'll be good, because that'll be more than 24 hours notice, so then you
Great.
could do it next week.
We can do it Friday, the 15th?
This is sausage being made.
And our attorney is gritting her teeth.
We can do it the 15th, right?
And Patrick, one of the things I'd like, not Patrick.
Commissioner,
Sure.
can I add one more thing before you go? The only concern, I guess, that we have, administration's thing is that building is, I don't know if that building is safe for the public to be walking there. I guess I'd have to defer to Jerry. If a group of the public want to be walking through that building, you need to make sure that that's safe and appropriate to be doing.
well, I think it would be safe.
I
for
hope so,
ourselves
if you're
and-
taking us.
Huh?
I would hope so if you're going to take the commissioners, otherwise we'll just send Mike.
Yeah, you're
With the hard head, they'll send the hard head.
You're covering your insurance policies.
No, I think it would be fine. I really do.
Okay, Teresa, did you have a comment on this?
Just briefly, if I may, Teresa York, County Attorney's Office. I don't know the publication time on Thursday, nor do I know the time that this is going to be set for on Friday, but you could conceivably have less than 24 hours worth of notice for the public for this. And if it isn't pressing and must be done on Friday, I would encourage the board to let the public have more than, possibly less than 24 hours and consider having this next week.
So let me ask you, Therese, with what you're saying, I think what we ought to do is do it Monday, the 18th, and Commissioner Boyle and others, if the 18th works, we can do it whatever time you say, Jerry, 9, 10, 11.
You said it.
I'd just soon be out there at 9 o'clock on Monday if the other commissioners are good.
Remember driving time too now. 9 o'clock on the 18th?
Very good.
Is that okay, Jerry?
Did you need to verify that, or do you want to just go
No,
ahead?
I'm fine. Absolutely.
And meet at the front door at
On the north
150.
side, yeah.
Okay.
So that'll be Monday, August 15th at 9 o'clock a.m. at the Thomas Fitzgerald Home at 156 in West
August
West
18th.
Maple Road. On the
Then 18th.
18th, I'm sorry. At 156 in West Maple Road, Monday the 18th at 9 o'clock.
Perfect. Okay. Thanks for all
Okay,
your
Commissioner
help.
Clark.
Yes. The other thing is, it would be nice to have for the public charts or drawings showing what we're going to be doing and where in the facility. The other thing is, because this is such an important issue, I think we should have other open houses out there where we can take people through and show them what their money would be spent on, to get them to buy into it and show them where it'd be saving money by, for example, moving the treasurer's office from lease space to space we own. That's all I was going to say.
We can do the charts, we can do other tours, the rest of the summer into the fall. In fact, I'd probably like that, so
It
people
probably
can
better,
realize what we're doing.
Jerry, probably better if we're doing it in late September, October, so that it gets closer to election time anyway, and we can talk about it at a board meeting and get more people to have knowledge about it.
We'll schedule the first one for Monday, the 18th, and then we'll come back and schedule maybe another couple of them
Yes.
before then.
Perfect. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
Commissioner Boyle?
I was only going to mention that I read that the sheriff is having an open house open to the public for the crime lab. So maybe we could consider, if it's pretty close, we might even consider coordinating our tour with
Would make sense.
that open house, because if the people are going to be there to look at that, they could also swing through and look at this other project.
Did you know
So
the
maybe
date
we
of
can-
that?
I don't know the date, but we could certainly call the sheriff's office and someone, Patrick, or someone call the sheriff's office
Okay.
and see when that is, and maybe we can coordinate it.
All right, we'll check into that.
Thanks.
Morning, RJ.
Welcome back.
Good morning, R.J. Brown, 49, I was at 49, I sold it, so I'm automatically sold that house.
Are you still registered to vote there? That's the question.
I'm at 1501 Avenue O, Carter Lake, Iowa. But I like to bring up the reason why I came today. This is one of the biggest issues in Omaha, and I always go to restaurants early in the morning, and I hear about major issues. This is one of the biggest, but I want to also say one thing about this issue. There should be a sunshine clause on this, because you can keep circulating those bonds, that $25 million bonds. If you get the vote of the people, make sure you have a sunshine clause so it doesn't keep going around and around and around. That's my suggestion for amendment today on this resolution, because this is the only time, and I know the only time you can speak on that situation. Thank you.
RJ, I really think that when you do the 25 million, I'm going to have Therese correct me, but I was certain that we pay those off and that's the end, and we'd need another vote of the people.
You can go in a circle.
Well, let me let Therese.
That's the way the city works too. So I just let you know, PJ.
Therese?
I've watched it for 46 years.
Tracy, York County Attorney's Office. I'm not sure I understand the reference to going in a circle, but if you're, Mr. RJ...
Reissuing the bonds.
Well, we do refinance. We do refinance a bond, but that is usually for the benefit of the county and the taxpayers to lower the interest rate.
Reduce it.
And it usually is for the purposes of saving
Increases
tax
too. The
dollars.
city does that with, guess what? Omaha Hilton. They keep going around and around, and the people did not vote for that. So be careful with that reissuing the principal.
Therese, the only time we would do bonds, and I know this from the airport authority, once there's a vote on the bonds, we may refinance, get a lower interest rate, but once they're paid off, we can't just say, well, we'll borrow another 25 million and do something different. Yeah. Am I accurate?
Commissioner, I can say I'm unaware of that. I can certainly look into that for the board.
You
I haven't
better
seen
look
this
close.
board do that. This board has taken actions to save the taxpayers' money by simply doing a refinance. And
That's fine.
I think what you're saying is accurate.
principle
So I
goes
think you
around.
would need a vote of the people in order to do that.
Our bond counsel is here. Let's let him address
Would
it.
you like to see if you can
Sure.
help answer that?
Parker Schenken, 1700 Farnham Street, Omaha. If the concept is that the county could treat this as a sort of a revolving line of credit and advance more principal, that's just not true. It's not permitted by statute. So to put the question to rest a little bit, there's certainly refunding opportunities, and as the county attorney pointed out, those are for the benefit of the county to save money. There'll be an analysis to make sure that there's savings on each one of those refundings. But the 25 million is it for principal, and as that gets paid down, there is no way to re-advance principal without another vote.
Perfect.
Thank you.
That's what I thought.
Commissioner Boyle.
Thanks again. I think from another perspective, I mean, what you said is absolutely correct, and I appreciate that clear explanation. I think from a public point of view, including my own, what happens frequently, RJ, is that a bond issue like this is put together, and then once it's spent, then if there's other projects that need to be done by the city or by the county, what happens is proposals are made, and they say, we're going to spend we want another 35 million, and your taxes won't go up. It's because this 25 million was already spent and it's paid, so that amount of money that was used to pay them off is freed up. And so then they ask for more, and that's what the city is doing. So it appears to be revolving, but it actually is not. Good point, though.
Thank you. Patrick, okay, do we have the resolution? Did we change the verbiage, or what do we need to do to go ahead and approve this resolution to be put on the general election ballot on November 4, 2014?
I think Tom's got it figured out.
The original motion was to approve the resolution. I don't know if you've changed the motion yet to approve the resolution, which will replace the resolution that was approved at the July 29th meeting.
That's what we, I think, did with you, Tom.
Okay.
Correct?
Yes.
If I may, the lead-in language in this resolution says that it's for the purpose of amending and restating the prior resolution, so it's sort of already baked into the cake.
Oh, it's already.
So I think what's before you has that language in the front end of it.
Are you suggesting we should read this before we vote?
No comment.
I kind of feel like we're Congress, you know. Let's vote on this.
No.
Thanks.
Thank you. Tom, do we have a motion and a second?
Yes.
Please vote.
Jerry, we'll see
Motion
you next
passes.
Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thanks a lot, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you, and the motion passes. Thank you, everyone,
Thanks,
for that.
RJ.
Thank you, everyone, for your hard work. Next, we have Human Resources, the weekly personnel report from Civil Service as presented. Next is the weekly CAO report on staff assaults. Patrick?
None.
Thank you. Next is legislative issues as see attached, and then, of course, we asked Marcos to check with our lobbyists about the ADA compliance with the animals that need to go along with the people. We do have need for executive session, I believe just labor negotiations. Do we have anything else?
No.
All right, can I have a motion to go into executive session?
So move.
Second.
I'm not the only one for this, am I?
Oh, go meet with yourself.
Please vote.
And Mike's voting no.
Thank you, and just as a reminder, we'll take like maybe a 5-minute break after executive session and meet in room 903 for the Finance Committee meeting. Thank you. We're going to go to 9:03 at 11:10, so approximately 13 to 15 minutes.
How you doing? Good, how are you?
RJ, what happened to the name?
Oh, I know. Good mind. Commissioner Tusha, do you want to take these with you upstairs, or do you want to? Oh, fully, yeah. That would be amazing, actually. Yeah, thank you.
Take care.
You too. We'll see you later.
Soon.
Okay. I'll be here. Okay, perfect.
Oh, God, not that many.
It's not too bad.
Not too bad.
It could
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber.
Kidding me? All right, we'll just say motion passes.
There you go. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea.